Right, so just about to leave my house off camping down Roslin Glen. First ever solo camp, I've always been with friends or family in the past. So I've got my bag with all my camping gear in it, my wee 3/4 sized acoustic travel guitar for a bit of fun, and my bag of food and beer. So I'll stop a few times on the way and show you a few landmarks and nice spots, and let's have some fun. Just stopping for a wee breather. This is the entrance to Roslin Glen Castle on the south side of the Esk. You can see it from the Esk Valley Trail on the north side of the Esk. I think it's actually owned by the Hines family and it gets used as a writer's retreat. It's got some caves underneath it which I'd like to explore one day that are linked to Robert the Bruce. But yeah, it's quite an interesting place, but unfortunately it's a bit private so you can't really go in and explore. Okay, so that's me just entering Roslin Glen now. Walk's been a wee bit harder than expected due to having this thing on my back. Weighs a ton, really hurting my shoulders. My boots aren't the comfiest either, and it must be about 20 degrees and the sun's blazing, and I don't really like the heat, but we're not far away now. Looking forward to getting the camp set up and getting a nice cold beer. That's me entering the woods now. Must admit I'm glad that I put on my jogging bottoms even though it's a bit hot. It's very overgrown and I think my legs would have got stung to bits by the nettles. A bit wild garlic along this path, you can smell it. It's nice, but very green and overgrown, but not surprising given the amount of sunlight and rain we've had over the past few weeks. So I'll keep trekking down. I'll do another wee clip in 5 minutes time. So that's me arrived at one of my favourite wee camping spots down in Roslin Glen. Used to be a bit of a better formed fire pit here, but looks like somebody's burnt all the logs that we had surrounding it. So maybe tidy it up a wee bit while I'm here. It's all looking very green from what I remember the last time I was here, but it's nice all the same. You can trek further away along that way, east, and that takes you to Wallace's cave. So I mentioned the caves under Roslin Glen Castle, which are linked to Robert the Bruce, but there's one that's linked to William Wallace as well. He apparently hid out there with a load of his men. On the north side of the Esk, there's actually a wee monument which kind of marks the Battle of Roslin. And then you've got Roslin Castle and the chapel in that sort of direction as well. So there's lots to see down here. If you head west, you've got the old gunpowder factory. That's dead interesting too. You can camp along there as well, lots of camping spots along here. Really nice place to visit. This tree here is still actually alive. There's quite a lot of trees in the glen that have been struck by lightning and had the insides of them burnt out. Unfortunately, I think someone's been using this one as a fire pit. You can smell fresh fire here, which is a bit of a shame. But there's a lot of that round about. There's a stumpy one there, I remember that one. So a couple of years ago that one was still standing but had been hit by lightning and was totally charred. I've got a funny story about this bit. So you can see it's quite steep going down to the river there, but there's a cliff that starts about here, so you can kind of scramble along the bank in a little bit, then it takes you to a cliff. My pal's mental big brother decided to take us fishing one day. There's a good fishing spot round the corner there. Now you can get to it by going the Wallace's Cave route, but it's a bit longer. But he had this route where you actually climb round the side of the cliff, so you had to put your fishing rod in your mouth, and climb round it. And he had a couple of dodgy handholds and footholds that he used. I was lucky I didn't end up in the drink, but we made it, although I think I've still got PTSD from that to this day. This gives you a wee idea what the cliffs are like around the sides of the river and some parts of the glen. It can get a bit steep and dangerous at parts. And there's lots of nice wee burns that kind of flows as tributaries into the river, and then it all eventually runs all the way down to Dalkeith and through Musselburgh into the sea. So I think I'm going to set my tarp and wee tent up in this area here somewhere. Nice flat spot. Usually pitch my tent round about here somewhere. It keeps a wee bit back for the fire as well for sparks and whatnot. Got a wee bit of shelter from the tree and it's out the wind too. We've only got a light breeze at present, but that looks quite nice. So I'll show you it once it's set up. Right, that's me got set up. So I've got my 3x3 tarp on 2 poles that I brought. I've been a bit lazy and not put up a ridge line, so it does sag a little bit in the middle, but that's fine. It's tight enough, do the job. I've got my wee fishing shelter, which I've had for probably about 20 years. I think I picked it up for about 15 quid or something, and it's still going. It's not a great thing, but it's still going. It's good enough to sleep in for the night anyway. I'll pull the door up on it after I've shown you this to keep the bugs out. It's got a wee vent at the top as well, which is handy, especially on a night like tonight. It's going to be quite warm. So, got my foil roll mat on the ground just to take some of the cold out. I don't think we're going to have too many issues tonight. Fairly lightweight sleeping bag. I've put my North Face jacket inside my stuff sack to give me a bit of a pillow. My wee lantern set up for later as well, although that'll probably just attract the bugs. Put my ground sheet down just to give somewhere dry to lie about and sit on. And I'll show you what food and drink I've got as well. So we have baked potatoes, which I'm going to put in the fire. I've got a mixture of cheeses and beans and sausages. Just remember, you can't have beans without the sausage. So that's what we're having for dinner. And I've got carrot cake for dessert. You've got to make sure you stay hydrated, so I brought plenty of water with me. It's a bit heavy. I've got a can of iron brew for breakfast to get me back up that hill. Give me a bit of sugar and energy. Got my old stove for doing a bit of cooking. This thing's as old as the hills. Must be 25-year-old. I think the gas cans are as well, so I brought a spare with me, but that one's still got a bit of juice left in it. And then on my beers, so what have we got? Well, I've got a wee cider to kick things off, so I'm going to drink that once I get all my firewood collected. Not a big cider man, but it's quite refreshing. It's just it's got far too much sugar in it and you have to shave your teeth after it. Got a wee Bud Light. This is a good session beer. Doesn't taste the best, but it's only 3%. You can drink as much as that as you want. You won't be too drunk or have that bad a heat the next day. It's practically salad, so that's kind of one of my 5 a day. And then I got a selection of beers and lagers from what the Co-op had. I was hoping for some ales, but they didn't really have any. But I do like a Staropramen. Not had that one before. Kronbacker's a nice beer. You can't beat a San Miguel. That one was actually in my fridge, so it's nice and cold. Got my wee sheet. Avon Skin So Soft. That doubles as midgie spray. It does make your skin a bit oily, but the midgies really don't like it. They're not out just now and not biting yet, but guaranteed they will be later, so I'm going to have to get that fire going. And then I've got my wee 3/4 size travel guitar to have a wee jam on later. I'll do a couple of tunes for you. So I'm just starting to get some firewood together. So I've got a load of small stuff to get going. Got a wee trick for that as well. And just putting the larger stuff in a pile over here. And I need to get some more thicker logs and also some medium sized stuff which I'm going to sit here. And that should keep me going for the night and bake my tatties and also give me my warmth, my light and some smoke to keep the midges at bay, which is pretty important. So what I'm going to do is put all the rotten damp stuff around the edges to kind of make a bit of a fire pit and contain the fire. And the fire in the middle will also dry that out as the night progresses, and then I'll eventually go to burn it. But I can't see something like that burning very well at the present time. Starting to break up some medium stuff for kindling, getting a wee pile of logs going. But I think this site's maybe been a bit rinsed over the summer because I'm having to trek way up the hill to find firewood. It's pretty barren around about, but you've got to work to have a good time. If you play hard, you've got to work hard, so let's crack on. Been up and down this hill 4 or 5 times now, and my feet are starting to get a bit sore. I think the walk here kind of did them in a bit. Wasn't any more than a couple of miles, but I mean, my boots are site safety, if you can see them there. They're like site safety shoes, they're no proper walking boots. But I don't really do much walking or hiking. I do a bit of running, go to the gym, look after myself, but I didn't do much hiking. Usually when I go camping, pitch a tent right next to the van. So that's a lesson learnt for next time. Could have probably just worn trainers, my running trainers even, because it's nice and dry today. But I thought, I'll put my boots on. Silly idea. Just got crappy sports socks on as well. Could do with decent socks too. But I'll learn that for next time. Need to give my feet a rest later. So I was going to do a wee video of me starting the fire, but a couple of my mates popped down to see me, so they're just heading back up through the trees up the hill now. And we ended up lighting it together and having a wee fire. And they helped me get some firewood as well. I had some issues starting it because the wood was so wet, but I'm going to show a wee trick that I used. Luckily on my way in here I found a flaming hot, it's a Dorito tree growing right at the top of the hill. So I collected some in my wee bag here, used them for starting the fire. The oil in them's brilliant. Prawn crackers are really good too for doing that, but there's not any prawn cracker trees that grow on this side of the river, unfortunately. So got the fire going. The wood, I said the wood's a bit wet, so I used all the really damp logs to build a bit of a frame round the outside, so got them drying out. This big one here, starting to dry out and actually take. It's got like a wee chimney effect going. Try to push all the wood up against it so I can drag the embers back into this area here to use to make my baked potatoes. That's going to be the next thing on the agenda, get some scran. I think I'm going to crack open a beer. So it's time for my first alcoholic beverage. So, wee Copperberg strawberry and lime. As I said earlier, I find these quite refreshing. This is the first one of the night, so I've got all my firewood, everything's set up. Mate's been to see me. Everything's good now, don't really need to do anything else other than enjoy myself. So, cheers. That's good. That's seriously good. You can see I've dragged some embers back and I've fired the baked potato in. So we'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to trying that later. Don't get very much better settings in this. For having a wee chilled out camp by yourself, emptying the heat of all the nonsense and going back refreshed the next day. It's just beautiful. You can hear the odd car going up the road up Roslin Glen behind me, but other than that, nothing. Needless to say, the cider didn't last very long, so cracked open a San Miguel. San Miguel's got to be one of my favourite lagers. Reminds me of being on holiday over in Mallorca. I love going over there with my fiance. They keep the glasses in freezers in some of the pubs over there, so you get ice cold San Miguel, and it's just beautiful. This one's probably more like a lukewarm San Miguel, but I'm in the woods, I'll still enjoy it. Been trying to make a bit of a rib cage over the top of the fire with sort of damper logs to dry them out a bit, and it seems to be working okay. I just keep feeding underneath them with the pile of kind of kindling that I've got. But we have had a lot of rain here the past few weeks, so everything's a bit damp and it's not the most eager to burn. But I had a no bad fire and a good time so far, and I think I'll get my tatty cooked, so that's all that matters. quite content. Nearly done my San Miguel, it's getting near the bottom. Crack open another beer soon. Had a wee jam on the guitar. Fire's roaring away nicely. My baked tatty seems to be doing okay down in there. So I'll just leave that to bake. So, get another half hour and I might get the beans and sausages on the go. Crack it open, have a wee bit of scran. But going to continue with the beers now, keep tending the fire. Love tending the fire. It's kind of therapeutic. And enjoying being out in the woods, emptying my head of all the crap. Wee plan for the fire seems to be working out alright. So what I'm doing, keeping this big log around the side as a kind of shield, but I've got a wee air hole for ventilation round there. I'm stacking up the bottom of it with small stuff, kind of kindling, but it's still a bit damp, so it's not taken until it's properly dried out. But the embers are really hot at the bottom. I'm then crisscrossing it with some wet logs, let them dry out. Then once I've dried out, they're then taken. And I've got this one on top that I had drying out earlier, just so that the hot flame at the top starts taking that and lets everything burn right through. But you'll see when you use the wee ventilation bit, it proper goes like. Wait it out. There we go, that's the game. It's time to give the Crombacher a go. Really nice beer this. Last time I tried it was at the bike racing. One of my dad's mates' teams were sponsored by them. They had a fridge full of the stuff. I minded it being nice back then. Seen it in the supermarket and thought, oh, I'll grab one of them. For nostalgia anyway, see what it's like, and it's lovely. Right, it's sorry about that, it's getting a wee bit dark, so I'm just going to put the light on. I'm just going to heat up my beans and the sausage. Just remember, you can't have beans without the sausage, and this will make sense towards the end of the video if you keep watching. Fire's still burning bright, my tatty's still in there. I need to heat this lot up first. So what I'm going to do is get the wee stove lit. So I just turn that around, make sure it's nice and steady as well. Is the gas on? That's it lit. And we'll get these fellas here fired up. You can't beat a beans and sausage like. Look at that. Awesome. So if my tatty goes to plan, that's going to get sliced open. That's going to get fired in the middle. And then I've got a big bag of cheese to go on top of it. That's a dinner like. Brilliant. And I've still got a couple of beers left to enjoy the rest of the fire. I've still got a big pile of firewood there as well to keep me going for a wee bit yet. Then I'll retire to bed, and tonight will have been a roaring success. Meant to say I got these wee copper bottom camping pots probably 20 years ago as well. All my kit's cheap and old, but all works. I got here, I'm dry, I'm surviving, so I didn't have to go spending a fortune to be able to go camping. As I said, this stove's ancient as well, probably not the safest either, but it does the job. It's not very light, must admit, but I'm a big laddie, and it's good exercise humping it all about, so I'm not complaining. Well, managed to fish a baked tatty out the fire, and I must say, it's looking rather good in there. The outside of it's not too charred either. I was expecting it to be like a hot coal, but it's actually not too shabby at all. So I'm going to get some of the beans and sausage on there and get a bit scran. There we go. Baked tatty, beans and sausage, 3 different types of cheese, all whilst camping. Looks a bit of a mess, but that's going to taste lovely. So I'm going to have that with a beer over by the fire, and aye, that's going to fill a hole. Looking forward to it. As you can see, the baked tatty didn't last very long. It was absolutely roasting. Now I'd left that for a good 5 minutes, I reckon, before I poured the beans and sausages and cheese on top of it, and the beans and sausage had been resting for a bit as well. But anytime I took a bit tatty, it was about burning the roof of my mouth off, so I think I'm going to have a sore mouth for the next few days because of that. Just shows you the heat that's in that fire. But the jacket on the outside of the tatty must have been giving it a bit of insulation, but I did cut it all open, let it rest. But bloody hell, it was roasting. But definitely not hungry anymore after that, and that'll give me plenty of energy for the walk home tomorrow. So I'm just going to sit and chill by the fire, burn some more wood. Got some logs over there too. Oh, that sounded like a shotgun. Somebody must be out hunting. And I'm going to finish off my beers and then have a good kip, and tomorrow's another day. So funny story number 2 about this spot. It's going to be hard to see because it's raining a bit and there's too much greenery in the trees. And I've also got my camera light on. It's a bit dark. But me and my mate Jim camped down at this spot one night. We both probably had a few beers too many. And over through the trees, that way where I'm pointing my finger, there's a security light on the side of one of the buildings on the other side of the river. So it could be the castle or the chapel or something like that. It's over that way anyway. But the two of us sat here drunk saying, oh, look at the moon's bright tonight. Look at how bright the moon is. The moon was actually behind us, up there somewhere, and it was a security light the whole time. I've had some funny times down here. It's a great spot. So I'm onto the Starro pramming now after my dinner. Dinner was lovely, I must say. But the tatty was roasting. It was proper nuclear. Fire's nuclear as well, roasting. I'm just sitting here in a t-shirt and it's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night now. I'm probably going to retire to bed after this one. I've still got another one left, but sometimes you need to know when to call it a night and give up. Feel absolutely knackered. The Sandman's coming. Enter Sandman. Metallica knew their shit. So time for bed soon, but I'm going to enjoy the last of the fire and this beer. I've had a great time. Hopefully get a good sleep and then up at the crack of dawn tomorrow. Right, well, retired to bed now. Had to give up. I'm absolutely knackered, but I've had a great time. Fire was dying out, so I just made sure it was out and that sort of thing. It's raining a bit, but the sound of the rain on top of the tarp in the tent is actually quite comforting, knowing that you're in here sort of safe and dry. So I think I'm going to get a good sleep. So I'm going to retire to bed and I'll give you a shout in the morning. Well, just woke up 5 o'clock in the morning. Didn't sleep very well. Had quite a bit of rain overnight. There's something squawking in the trees. I think I'm going to venture outside, get packed up and walk home. Try and get a couple of hours skip at home, I think, with the dogs. Feeling a bit tired, but enjoyed myself all the same. Aye. It's actually not too bad outside. It sounded like it was raining, but I think it's just stuff falling off the trees now. I'm going to have my trusty iron brew, then get packed up, head up the hill and walk home. The carrot cake got eaten anyway. Got up to go to the toilet halfway through the night and was a bit hungry afterwards, so scanned both of them. So I did have my dessert, so I just popped that in my rubbish bag, which I'm taking home with me. Leave no trace. Just going to scrub out the fire, tidy it up, and tweak some undergrowth over the top of it, just to tidy it up a bit. But it's quite a well used spot, this. One of my friends comes down here just for a fire regularly, so I'll leave a wee stack of firewood for the next person and tidy this up so that I don't leave a trace as well. There we go. Poured some water on the embers because they were still hot. Scratched it all out. covered it over. Nice wee stack of firewood for the next person. And the big log's been left untouched for someone to sit on. We used to have the whole area surrounded by logs to sit on, and they had a proper fire pit in the middle with a stone circle. But a load of youths came down and wrecked it. They dragged the logs halfway down that hill, burnt the rest of them, destroyed the fire pit, made a mess of the place, left lots of litter, had a party. My friend Jim came down and tidied it up a bit, and then the two of us did some more when we camped down here, but I think it got abused a bit again. It's not too bad today, there's not really any litter lying about, but got to leave the place nice, try and leave it better than what you found it. The thing I like about this fishing shelter is it's only got 4 pegs and 3 poles, so you can get up in minutes. It's not the best thing to spend the night in, I guess. Ventilation's okay, but you get a bit of condensation, and it's not the most waterproof, but if you fire a tarp over the top of it, it makes a not bad wee shelter just for a night skip. Probably wouldn't go away backpacking in it or anything like that, but for something that's cheap and cheerful that I bought years and years ago for not very much money, it's certainly paid for itself and done its job, and I've had several good camping trips in it. I've been well impressed with this tarp like. 20 quid off Amazon. I brought these poles with me as well, as I said last night. These are actually for my trailer tent. I bought them for making a bit of an awning with another tarp, but they do for this as well. If you suspect there's not going to be a decent enough tree or decent enough sticks to use, which I was kind of right. Could have maybe used these trees, but they're a bit thick and chunky for lassoing bungees or ropes round. I think I would have struggled a bit there, so I'm glad I brought them. But the tarp itself, nice, strong and sturdy. Good day as a day shelter as well. If you're just coming down here for the day, having a wee fire or something, you could chuck that up, a couple of chairs under it, give you a range or a sunscreen. Aye, well impressed with it. Well, that's me all packed up. You can't see where I've been. Got my kit here, my bag, guitar, rubbish bag, wee glug of water for the top of this hill. It's going to be brutal walking up that. Camera won't do it justice, but it's pretty steep. As you can see, tidied up the fireplace, so you didn't really kind of been here. A lot of left, nice pile of wood for the next person, which will probably be my mate Jim. He comes down here quite a bit, just for a wee fire and a chill out. So it's been a fairly successful camp. Need to get a better pair of boots for the next time because my feet are a bit sore. I want to try and lighten the load up a bit as well. So I think if I could do without the tarp poles, that would help. Maybe change the gas can in my stove before I come so I don't have to bring a spare. There's a couple of bits and pieces I brought with me I didn't really use, like my wee tripod seat, didn't really use that at all. So I could leave kind of several things at home to lighten the load a bit. I'll probably bring cans of beer instead of bottles the next time, although I quite often find that the bottled beer gives you a better range and nicer beers. Cans just tends to be kind of cheap lagers. You get quite a lot of nice brew dogs and stuff like that in the cans, but I can't drink them. I get a really sore head the next day, even off a couple. And I'm all about looking after myself now that I'm a bit older. So I try and go for beers that I know I can get up in the morning and feel alright with. I can't be bothered with hangovers anymore. But that's the plan for next time, lighten the load a bit, get a bit more comfort. Might get a wee air mattress as well, because I didn't sleep very well, wasn't very comfy. So that could be an idea too. That's me back out the woods now. It's actually a lovely morning. So it's only 6 o'clock in the morning. I got up at 5. I'm just trekking home. The pack's definitely not as heavy as it was on the way here. I'm either used to it or it's because I've used most of my 3 litres of water that I brought with me. Can't really take water out the river or any of the bunds around here. there's a sewage works for Roslin just up the road from me. The stuff it discharges will be safe into the river because it gets treated first, but I still didn't fancy drinking it. And there's also a lot of industrial past round about here, so you've got the mining, and when it rains heavy the mines obviously fill up with water, discharge effluent into the river, which is a big problem, particularly down in Dalkeith. You've got the old gunpowder factory, and there's an old carpet factory there as well. So although the industrial stuff is now gone and defunct, it's still potential for kind of polluting all the water courses, so I wouldn't touch anything round about here. The river does have fish in it, it's got brown trout and grayling, so it does sustain life, but I wouldn't be drinking it. Don't think I'd be swimming in it either. You can go for a swim, but didn't really fancy that either, like. So just trekking home. Got about half hour, 40-minute walk to get back. Maybe get a wee bite to eat. Then I'm going to have a sleep. Just walking down the old railway track past Roswell. Former mining town, well, old mining town. This railway kind of linked a lot of the towns together, passes through Bonnyrigg right down through Dalkeith as well, goes the other way up to Pennycook. A lot of industrial past round about here. So I'm on the homeward stretch now, just past the entrance to Hawthornden Castle that I was talking about yesterday. So I'm looking forward to getting a shower, something to eat, and then retiring to bed for a few hours, and then the rest of the day's mine. So that's me back home now, and got the dogs out. This one's Ruby and this one's Daisy, but their nicknames are Beans and Sausage, so that's why I keep going on about beans and sausage all the time. Ruby's called Beans because she's full of beans, and Daisy's the sausage because she's a bit chunky. So, beans and sausage.